Well, hello, Canadians and all First Peoples. In fact, it's all subjects and those defined as as far as peasant or even the savage people. Folks, call CALL and a series of climate policies attached to many NGOs have infiltrated so many countries. Canada is not immune to it. We've been taken into this. We've administered the green new socialism crafted by the crown. In fact, not just the United Kingdom and the royal family, all nine royal families alive and well in the world today. Just the Commonwealth and this call. It's a call to living organisms, the Commonwealth's call. And it's real. And they have several UN sponsored agendas that have not gone to the United Nations Security Council, have not been voted forward by the General Assembly, but are pushed and pressed upon all colonial realm kingdoms anywhere in the world where folks are designated as subjects, peasants, or savages underneath a divine set of elites. And there are many of them. There's more than 1,500 in many of these organizations, these NGOs, non governmental organizations, completely separate from the United Nations. Again, United Nations. People don't want to look at this stuff. They don't want to see it. They don't want to look that for instance, Canada, our southern neighbor, our border neighbor, USA, has no carbon pricing, no carbon tax, and no funding of any kind of any countries in green socialism. They don't constitute it. They don't pass it in international law. They veto, veto, veto. Now, we have another neighbor, Canada, and it's called Russia, who has the same powers as the United States of America. And they too have no climate policies on any global socialism or any super taxation system to drain their people like Canada does. And why? Because their people are citizens. You can't legally do that. It's against international law and it's against the Constitution of the Russian Federation. This is the exact same thing for the United States of America. You know who else? China. The People's Republic of China. They don't do it either. They don't participate in any of this against their defined citizens. They don't have subjects. Russian Federation doesn't have subjects. USA doesn't have subjects. All monarchies, these nine kingdoms from the old world that are still alive and well today, flourishing in Europe and some Middle East and Asian countries, they have them and they're still large and in charge. And they run all these programs and they get their assets held, colonial countries like Canada for one, under the British Empire, the crown of the United Kingdom, and they turn around and they craft these things to drain the wealth from all the working people and administer it throughout their loyal kingdom sponsors. You know them as the divine elite. More than 1,500 wealthy billionaire elites. People talk about Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, and yeah, sure, they got into all of this too, all of them. They've done some terrible things for many of these NGOs, but they're just a couple of them. There's more than 1,500. That is a fact. And if you haven't gone through the NGOs attached to the climate program, the Green New Deal, you should. You will find many multinational global elites who certainly mostly are not registered even in the United States. They may operate a business there, a division, but they're not registered there. In fact, they're protected throughout the kingdoms. And again, what does that mean? They're sheltered with their initiatives from any kind of citizen uprising because there are no citizens. All the people in the countries of origin or where they mostly operate have absolutely no citizens, none whatsoever. In fact, it's subject, which is a slave, a less than, a class of person, and then they even go down from there through peasants and even into savagely defined people. Now, the Commonwealth alone, through the new call agenda that is new to everybody, but it's not new. It's been around for decades, in fact. This agenda's been around for many decades, led by literally a wealthy elite who are divine socialists. They get all the perks of socialism. All these families, all of you work and you give a portion of your wealth to make sure they live extremely wealthy and tell you how to live your life and to how to enjoy taxation without representation. In fact, they tell you how to live in an autocratic society. Often we hear about Saudi Arabia. I know that flies around in my country all the time too. Dictator oil, they say. How does that stack up against Canada's political structure? Well, it's dictatorial too. In fact, they operate nearly the exact same system. Now, some of these, like Saudi Arabia is a monarchy, a constitutional monarchy. Well, so is Canada. People say, well, that's different. How's it different? Our executive clearly has fusion with the legislative and the judiciary. It's always been this way. People are waking up to it now. We see CSIS reports. We see Canada's Central Intelligence Agency director basically tell everybody in the latest round of recall, and he's being recalled to go back and testify, that he did change the reports, but he can only operate on the advice of the Prime Minister. He can only give advice. So when he does reports, so if the Prime Minister tells him, you change that report or you do this or that, they do it. That's not an independent judiciary, and that should scare every Canadian and any ally that thinks Canada is, that you don't have an independent judiciary here. You have a fused judiciary to the executive, all-powerful, omnipotent ruler, the crown, just like all the rest of them. Now, many countries call out the others, but somehow it's not a big deal for these ones. Well, folks, you go read how they brag. The crown brags in the call that you go to the Commonwealth and you read what the crown says and what that action represents. They brag about their control of over 23% of the world's living biomass. That's theirs, not mine as a Canadian. No, I'm, like everybody else, compressed into less than 9% of Canada. First Peoples, the defined savages by that very crown, forever and a day. It's never changed. The Indian Act is still alive and very well today. They crush them into 0.2% of Canada. They stay their stewards of the land. They take care of all the land. What, 0.2%? There's no First Peoples out there in anything less than 0.00001% of the population of Canada. What are we talking about? 30, 40 people living out in the wild? Because you won't make it. There's no infrastructure. There's no way to get in and get out safely. You'll die in the first winter. Because it's the governments. And they limit who gets there, all their wealthy friends, and they brag. In this latest thing, they brag about this massive biomass, this carbon sink that belongs to them, not us. Apparently, we're not independent of the crown. We're not independent of all these 9 nations, and they rule in this world. and they get to call the shots, and they can pollute, they can create all this nightmare, and then they can turn around and say, we're just going to bill our less than citizen peoples, the subjects, peasants, or savages, depending on where you live and under what kingdom. And it's real. It's been around forever, and it's right in everyone's face. I'm going to do tremendous videos when I'm re-released from Facebook coming on the 19th. First one's for Roseanne Barr, who did a video. It's tremendous. They're very close. I'm going to fill them in on some real credible, verifiable, factual documentation that anyone can pull once you know what to look for. Just like this call, this Commonwealth living organism climate green socialism deal that they've crafted, along with many other treaties that Canada's signed on to, forced to sign on to. If you ever read the Canadian preliminary of our Constitution, which, like other countries, they have preambles, preliminary preamble, it's an introduction to basically what is the bread and butter of this Constitution. When you read Canada's preliminary, you find out you are a subject under the British Empire, and that this country will be modeled entirely off that image and off of that template, and you will all swear oath and allegiance to that. And people do. I actually work with a guy, and I would never say names, I don't have permission, but he's going through his citizenship this morning right here on the site I'm working at, and he was shocked because he gets an email from the government. He goes, holy shit, you were right. You were right. Look at this. And there it is, King Charles III, which all landed immigrants in Canada, first not born in Canada, but landed immigrants, first gen. They all have to swear that. That's Canada's naturalization. You will no longer be what you thought, or if you were a subject, you are now, a citizen, you're now a subject of the Canadian Crown through Charles III, which is his heirs, and that means Governor General Mary Simon here in Canada, which means you're now sworn to the Prime Minister, and you're basically a less person under him who holds your sovereignty until you elect the next dictator who will get your sovereignty too, who has an immeasurable amount of crown power because you gave your oath, which means you gave up your sovereignty as an individual, as a real citizen. You became a subject, which is a slave. And this is apparently okay with all the allies, at least some of the allies, to say, hey, it's no big deal, even though, for example, the United States of America, that is absolutely and unequivocally 110% anti-American. Their oath of allegiance is to America, to become a citizen, to renounce all subjectivity or any citizenship of a subjugator, a foreign prince or praetor. They got all kinds of names right there, and it's old as old can be. It's been around forever, the naturalization, brought first and foremost by James Madison, founding father, and not with the Constitution of the United States of America, but actually from one of the 13 colonies that it was James Madison who put first in one of those states, those runaway independent states that were able to defeat the British Empire. He put it in first. Yeah. And in 1783 he wrote that. He implemented that, and then that was what was used for the USA Constitution. A lot of folks don't know that. James Madison clearly did a lot. He foresaw that as a serious problem. He didn't want America to ever be in that situation where you lose your independent judiciary, you lose your legislative independence. There are checks and balances. In Canada, again, we have an executive that is fused with the legislative and judicial branch, which means it's one autocratic dictator. And they do that with their crown. That's Governor General and every subordinate crown appointed position. The whole Senate's appointed, Privy Council's appointed, sworn. When I say appointed, they're also appointed and then sworn to the Prime Minister. When you have the director of CSIS, Canada Central Intelligence Agency, just like the American CIA, sworn to only the Prime Minister and to smudge, forge documents, whatever crimes have been committed, are only advice to the Prime Minister. Oh, this is illegal. You just broke a major law, or you're involved in a major conspiracy, or you're involved in a major crime against the Canadian people. No, I'm not. I'm the Prime Minister. CSIS director. You will pull that report. You will erase it. You won't make it public. You won't even let any institutions in Canada, very limited, have any access to it. I'm the Prime Minister. You're sworn to me. The law doesn't apply to me because I'm above the law. I am your God. Remember your oath. They go, yes, you are. And then now they're off. Oh, retired, right? Notice how they all retire. Oh, I can't remember. I forget. You can't hold me to anything anyway. That's what kind of country we got. Epic scale corruption. And this green socialism of climate change, and that's what it really is. It's the conversion of mass wealth transfer throughout not only the Commonwealth, but all colonial systems. And that's really what we're reliving here. We're rebuilding the empires and we're rebuilding colonialism, which is an epic scale time that led to the War of Independence for USA and Russia. China, Iraq had their time too, folks. And you know what? Our time has to come, because if you don't, by 2035, you will be in the same boat as Russia was in the 80s at the height of communism, moving into fourplexes. You don't drive. You live within 15 minutes of everything the state has assigned you to sustain your life. You don't live in a house with a garage and all those things. And if you think it's not true, it's already starting in Ontario, Upper and Lower Canada, even Quebec. But you'll see it in Montreal first. Obviously, it's going rampant throughout the GTA. And you will see it by 2035. That's going to be standard. No more fossil fuel cars. It'll be, hey, if you're rich, you can buy an electric car, right? Oh, you got money, right? You can afford $30,000 garage upgrade. Oh, you got money, right? You can buy a $60,000 electric vehicle. Oh, you got money, right? You can afford, with millions of these things on the road, you can afford all the power, right? Right? Well, the answer is no, and they know that. You'll be on their buses just like all the communists were, the communist citizens at the height of the Soviet Union in a city like Pripyat, which was where Chernobyl's disaster was. Nobody drove. You couldn't leave your city because you'd have to take a state bus out because no one could afford cars. Yeah, you lived 15 minutes within your job and a bus came and picked you up every day at the same stop. You reported to that job and you worked it for the rest of your life, and you lived in your little apartment complex with your 1 or 2 children if you could afford it. And then Chernobyl happened. That ended the Soviet Union. They ended all of that experiment. But now that's being relived in the Commonwealth through the green new socialism. And if you ever want to know where it started, it's called CALL. Go on the Commonwealth website. Look up CALL. Capital C, capital A, capital L, capital L. Go read it. Massive funding, massive wealth transfer from my country, Canada, at the federal crown level and the provincial crown level to go without the world. So what upset me to make this video for everybody tonight? So now Justin Trudeau says, makes a big stink about the premiers. 8 premiers want carbon pricing changed, shut down, or they want to have a debate about it. Justin Trudeau says, well, if you want to have a debate, you have to present to me some kind of alternative, viable alternative. Again, none of this is constitutional. So Pierre Poilievre, His Majesty's official opposition, put this motion to have this debate. Jagmeet Singh sided with Pierre Poilievre. So now we're likely to see, unless there's going to be an election call, which that's fine too, but probably not, Justin Trudeau will do the debate and he'll demand premiers present an alternative green socialism to the one he's rolling out by the Majesty. And these premiers are all sworn. So now they have to present the alternative to the carbon tax and roll out a different scheme that's going to affect all of you. I already know where it's going to go, folks, but the whole point of it is this. When 8 premiers, which meets the constitutional requirement for amendment to the federal constitution, which is already an overreach when it comes to climate change. It's not the Prime Minister's privy to force his international justifications with a crown monarch that's not supposed to be ruling our country and taking away our sovereignty, but we don't have any anyway. So our Prime Minister decides, I'll give your sovereignty to this crown international to give me more autocratic power. And in turn, all the premiers get more autocratic power to beat all of you and cheat you out of all your money. So now they're going to have a debate on another viable alternative. Why are we having a debate? Nobody wants it. USA's not participating in any way, shape, or form. Russia's not participating in any way, shape, or form. And China's not participating in any way, shape, or form. So if they're not doing any of that, I want to ask you all a question. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to come up with the right answer here. Hear me out. If you have an oil, natural gas, energy economy going, right? It could be anything, but we're just going to go with that. And you start taxing the living hell out of it, like anything else. You make the prices of those things higher than everybody around you. And let's say those 2 players around you are Russia and USA. Now we're going into these changes on fossil fuels. Who's going to be shut in first as they start shutting in all these industries? Is it A, Russia? Is it B, USA? Is it C, China? No, again, they don't do any of that pricing, carbon tax, or increase the expense on their products to purchase and buy. Or would it be Canada, who's multiplied that way beyond the other 3? Who are they going to shut down first, folks? Who are investors going to shut out? You're an investor. Now, I invest in Canada, I'm getting lower returns, and now you're putting all these taxations, making your product unsustainable and uncompetitive with the rest of the global market. Okay, right, everybody? Who do you shut in first? We're going to get to this 2050 and we're going to cut production so much. Who do you think is going to get shut down first? Oh yeah, it's Canada, right? The most expensive, the highest taxed, the lowest return on your investment. Doesn't take a rocket scientist. I think we can all agree on that. And I don't see why this isn't being talked about. I know why it's not being talked about on the Canadian state media. What really gets me is just how many folks say that they're conservative. When I say conservative, I mean real conservative. The primary definition, physical conservative. That should be at least somewhat of a financially responsible person who at least has enough business sense to see where this is going and who's going to be grossly affected the worst. And the only reason for such action would be to take away our market share, right? Because that's what you're talking about. We're going to shrink the market share, squeeze out those least performers, most expensive, highest taxed, least competitive, squeeze them out of the global market, and then somebody else is going to fill up and replace them. It's not rocket science. And anyone going along with this, I got to ask you, why are you not seeing this for what it is? Why do premiers have to debate an alternative or a different scam on the people and the businesses and the industries? Why are we even talking about it? Why is this something we have to participate in? Why are we not sovereign unto ourselves and worry about our nation and our national interests? Why are we not citizens? We have a Citizenship Act. Go read the oath. I know, like I said, I worked with somebody. I'm just going to say this. He's from the United Kingdom. So imagine a United Kingdom guy looking at this and going, holy shit. And that's exactly what he got. Holy shit. That's the email you get. This is what you swear in the morning. Imagine that. People have no idea. People have no idea just how awful this world is. And we're not talking about a small amount of the global population here. We're talking about 40%. Just in those who are peasants, subjects, or savages. 40%. And then from there you can go into the unitaries, and overlaps are basically the same thing. You're a citizen, but not really, because you're in a unitary or a civil law socialist dictatorship, right? And we can go into all that. Really, there's only maybe out of 193 nations, probably 6 that actually deliver for their people and actually have a sense of self-worth and sovereignty of their people. And folks, I promise you, those countries will not be shutting down their industries, at least not first. It'll be all those with the less people, the subjects, peasants, and defined savages. That's a fact. They get rich, you all get poor. Food insecure, energy poverty, energy insecure, housing insecure. You'll be a good slave. And that's what it's always been about. It's nothing new. This old world order system existed for more than 5,000 years. The first time a majority of the world, and people always look at the United States because you always watch TV, but a majority of the world did not have any of those American dreams or rights and freedoms that they've had for so long. Most of the world has not. And it hasn't been until World War III and what the Allies produced out of that to really limit that global subjugation. But it is here, it's smack dab in our face. And folks, if you want to learn anything, call, especially if you're a Canadian, just go look at it. Commonwealth, the call, capital C, capital A, capital L, capital L. Read it all. Read all the treaties all your crummy, corrupt, sadistic politicians have signed all of you onto. And watch your money fly away. Watch your wealth fly away. Watch your housing crisis explode. Watch your food insecurity explode. Watch your energy poverty and insecurity explode. And we're not even there yet. I know how Canadians feel now. I know how myself and my family feels and my friends. We are not even there yet. You have no idea. No idea. That's my video. Share, share, share. Very important. Truth, credible, real, verifiable. You can all look at it yourself. It's time to face these truths and stop hiding from reality, because things aren't going to get better if people keep going in the wrong directions, keep narrating things that just aren't true and actually corrupt us further. And it's a shame. It's unbelievable. I just don't know how far down people really want to go. I guess they want to wait to that point in history that it always gets to, where people are starving and going crazy in the streets. I guess that's what a lot of folks want to wait for. I know I don't.